Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello there. On the programme this evening.
Save our seafarers! Save our jobs!
P&O protest calls for the government to take action against a ferry company who axed their workforce by video message.
In a legal limbo, why Yasmin's stuck in a refugee camp instead of meeting the family in Cheshire, offering her shelter from the war in Ukraine.
The man in charge of levelling up goes walkabout in Blackpool. What can Michael Gove and the Conservatives deliver from their spring forum on the Fylde coast? Liverpool says goodbye and thank you to Jerry Marsden.
And the super worm moon lighting up the sky last night across the region and giving us a fantastic start to the weekend tonight, no doubt. All the details coming up.
Well, first tonight, and a major protest in Liverpool at the axing of hundreds of jobs by the ferry operator P&O.
The demonstration coincided with others held in Dover, Hull and Larne in Northern Ireland the day after P&O fired 800 people with no notice and replaced them with cheaper agency staff.
Joining the protests are two regions' metro mayors. They said the governments needed to consider nationalising the company, which is owned by a firm based in Dubai.
Meanwhile, people left stranded abroad by the crisis have been speaking out. Our top story tonight from Tim Scott.
Save our seafarers! Save our jobs!
Hundreds turned out at the port of Liverpool today to protest against the sacking of P&O staff. It comes as similar protests were held at other P&O terminals across the country. Everyone here was united in condemnation of how the sackings were handled yesterday, the initial announcement by Zoom from P&O, and then security guards with handcuffs strong-arming sacked staff off their ships to be replaced by agency staff.
It's a deliberate and cynical move by the ship owners, blindsiding everybody, the trade unions, the local authorities, the MPs. The only people that knew in advance was the government, and shame on them for not doing anything about it.
We are a beacon worldwide for how to engage and how to negotiate. This undermines everything. It pulls the rug from under all of that, and it's not something that we can accept.
The Liverpool and Manchester Metro mayors were there to lend the sacked seafarers their support.
In this day and age, what sort of company would do that to a loyal workforce? And that's why we're here with solidarity for everybody who's been affected.
P&O claim it's their £100 million year-on-year losses that have forced them into sacking their staff, but the unions say they've acted illegally by not consulting with them first, and they're now demanding that the government step in and take action against P&O and its parent company DP World. Transport Minister Grant Shapps wants the law around the sacking checking and wants both sides back around the table.
We do have rules in this country on this, and obviously lawyers and others will be looking at it. I know the unions are very concerned to make sure that the actual laws have been followed here. They can still rescue this situation by getting back together with their employees and handling the situation properly.
With P&O services now suspended, many passengers have been stuck in foreign ports, unable to return home. But Chris Taylor from Wigan has sympathy for the sacked workers.
But the staff saying, you know, what they're going through, they've been really, really kind with us, and you do feel for them, you know, like whether they've got a job or not, but they have all looked after us.
No one is sure what happens next regarding the P&O sackings, but at present there is little in the way of optimism that the jobs can be saved. Tim Scott, ITV News, Liverpool.
Well, we'll bring you more on that story as and when we get it. Next, though, a convoy of firefighters has left our region to offer help to fellow fire crews in Ukraine. Teams from Greater Manchester, Merseyside and Lancashire left this morning. They're delivering 2 fire appliances, a hydraulic platform and kit. They're making their way across Europe to Poland.
Meanwhile, a family from Cheshire are urging the government here to let them offer a home to an Afghan refugee.
Yes, today's the first day people who've escaped from Ukraine can apply for visas to enter the UK. But for Yasmin, an Afghan national who'd worked for 10 years in Ukraine, It's not that simple.
A couple from Cheshire say they're ready to offer her shelter at their home, but the fact she was never able to become a Ukrainian citizen is proving a massive obstacle.
Our reporter Tasha Kachiri has more.
Yasmin's birthday last year. This year, she spent it in a temporary camp on the outskirts of Germany. Yasmin is an Afghan refugee who was taken in by Ukraine in 2012.
I was quite happy with living in Kyiv, in Ukraine. I felt like for the first time I was trying to stabilize. I had a stable life.
She was living in the capital Kyiv, teaching English until the war broke out. Because Yasmin doesn't have a Ukrainian passport, it's been difficult for her to get help.
For me, my documents, people don't understand because it doesn't look like a regular Ukrainian passport. They are confused, they don't know what to do.
So this is our spare room. This is the room that Yasmin would have.
Douglas and his family met Yasmin on Facebook and offered to help, but quickly realised it wasn't that simple.
I've been trying to find ways to help her. It's frustrating that there are no answers and there's nowhere, certainly no government agency that I found that can give any clear direction on this. I want to help, and I think it should be quite easy. I've got a room, come and stay. We'd welcome her into the family, so it just shouldn't be this hard, I don't think.
The rules for the current Homes for Ukraine scheme say the UK will offer refuge to Ukrainian nationals, but that means Ukrainian residents without citizenship are being left out in the cold. Before the Russian invasion, it's estimated there were nearly 5,000 refugees and asylum seekers in Ukraine. Not all of them had citizenship. Now charities fear they'll be left behind.
There's a lot of problems with the scheme. All kinds of things happen to refugees, which mean that they lose or don't have their documents. And so a scheme that really depends on them having those documents, I can only see causing problems.
Hello.
Hello, Yasmin, how are you?
This is Yasmin and Douglas's first phone conversation.
We've got a room waiting here for you. It's all made up. It's ready for you as soon as you get here.
For Yasmin, it means the world that Douglas and his family are fighting for her. But it's hard to hold out hope.
I try to be strong, but sometimes it's like maybe I will just break down.
I don't care that she's from Afghanistan. I don't care whether she's from Ukraine. She's a person who needs help, and we would like to help her.
Tasha Kachiri, ITV News, Cheshire.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And this weekend on ITV, a special programme looking at the war in Ukraine, told by those on the front line as the historic events unfold. It includes Jana and her daughter, who spent 3 weeks living under siege.
Вот, то есть молилась так, как никогда в жизни не молилась, знаешь, и вот потом приняла решение, укреплять бомбоубежище. Бомбоубежище, не знаю, я верю в то, что оно спасет. Мы надеемся только на чудо, я не знаю. Молимся.
Yeah, truly harrowing stuff. And you can see more from Ukraine, voices from the front line on Sunday on ITV after the late news at 10:20. Well, in other news, 3 men involved in a drive-by shooting in Manchester have been jailed for a total of more than 17 years. CCTV footage shows gunman Sean Cowie leaning out of his car during the chase in Harper Hay last January. An innocent driver's vehicle was struck in the crossfire. Cowie was sentenced to 5.5 years. 2 other gang members were also jailed.
Well, next, a big moment for Blackpool as the resort hosts its first major party conference since 2007.
Yes, the Conservatives are holding what they call the Spring Forum. It's not the main party conference, but all the government's big hitters are there. The Prime Minister will give a speech tomorrow.
Well, the government, as we know, says it's committed to an agenda of levelling up the north and south of England, and they've already made an announcement about that.
Our political correspondent, Leisha Manali, is at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool, the conference venue. Leisha, what did the government say?
Well, where MPs go, the levelling up slogan tends to follow. But just outside this little political bubble is a town facing some real challenges. 8 out of the country's 10 most deprived neighbourhoods are here, with 1 in 3 houses classified as non-decent. This week, the government announced a new partnership to try to address that. Working with the local Labour Council, they want to transform derelict areas, improve the quality of housing and crack down on rogue landlords. The Levelling Up Secretary spent the afternoon in some recently refurbished flats, hearing the difference it makes to health and well-being. But this has been branded as the same kind of approach which transformed King's Cross in London. It doesn't come with London-style cash. That project cost £3 billion. Now, 20 towns will have to share around half of that. I asked Michael Gove if that was really enough to tackle Blackpool's problems.
Blackpool's got a specific problem. Here in the centre of Blackpool, there is low-quality housing, and many of the landlords who are responsible for it are simply people who shouldn't be housing individuals. So what we need to do is we need to improve the quality of regulation, get investment in, and transform the centre of Blackpool so that it can be, as it has been in the past, a magnet for talent and investment.
In real terms, Blackpool Council's seen huge funding cuts from central government since 2010. Isn't it just putting back a small part of what communities should have had anyway?
Well, it was the case, of course, after the 2008 financial crash, that we did need to bring the budgets back into balance. But we're now in a position where we can invest, and the additional investment that Rishi Sunak has secured is coming to areas like Blackpool. We're moving money north in order to ensure that this town, and indeed the whole of the Lancashire coast, has a brighter future.
Well, that future could be around 8 years away, the year 2030, the deadline the government's given itself to meet the levelling up agenda. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will be here in Blackpool to address the party, to rally support and convince them that he's still the man to lead them there.
Leisha McNally at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. Thanks very much for that.
Well, next, Conservative MPs from our region have joined others in putting pressure on the government to act in the face of massive rises in the cost of living.
The prices of essentials, ranging from our daily bread to diesel, have all gone up. It's left many households really struggling to cope.
And as our correspondent Rob Smith now reports from Partington in Greater Manchester, food prices are hitting some people hard. And one family budgeting expert's even calling on the Chancellor to help her offer the right advice.
Making ends meet with cut-price essentials. Mo Perkins from Partington shops at a community store, selling donated food at vastly reduced prices. She says it's the only way she can stock her kitchen. Official food price inflation stands at almost 5%, but she's seen some costs soar beyond.
It's not far off double the price when you're going out for different items. Some items are a little bit more expensive, some are near as double the price. Depends what you're getting on the day, what you're actually shopping for.
That's one heck of a change.
Yeah, it's gone extreme. Extreme. Everything now seems to be like a luxury to buy.
What goes through your mind seeing the prices that are on the shelves now?
You just go, wow, and walk past.
Chopping food costs to avoid that walk-past moment isn't easy as bills galore increase. Chef Adam Parkinson teaches cooking at Manchester's Mustard Tree Centre. He thinks years of cheap, convenient food have made the shock bigger. His best advice, generations old, but new to some he helps. Make in bulk if possible, with whatever's affordable.
You'd be surprised, we have a lot of people who've come to us who don't have the confidence or just never cook themselves, and they can be living off ready meals, takeaways. When you've got time at the weekend, do a bit of batch cooking, freeze it, defrost it the day before in the fridge. For example, if you're making a roast dinner, using a roast chicken, rather than just discarding it, use that chicken to make something else.
Yet to make something, you still need to save on buying something.
I'm certainly concerned about what the price inflation is going to be like in the next few months.
Retail expert Dr. Amna Khan recommends scanning shelves for budget brands, buying frozen, shopping for reductions at the day's end. As many people already do those, she also points to apps which supermarkets use to sell entire bags of cheaper groceries.
There's applications out there that sell produce for 70% off the price. So you could go and get a bag of grocery items that are left over in the day and pay 70% of the price for that. And you just need to do a search online to find those apps. So there are options available to consumers.
Options one budgeting expert worries may soon run out. For years, Ruth Lancey's guided families through making fewer pennies stretch further. Now she says the maths doesn't work.
I was so frustrated by this that I actually sent someone's budget to Rishi Sunak, to the Chancellor, and asked him. I said, "You're great with budgets. Could you just tell me how I can make this budget work? Because I don't know what to say to this family anymore. There's just not enough money coming in. I'm telling them they've got to live on £30 a week, and they've no money for transport. They've no money for clothing or anything. What can you see something that I can't?" And I'm still waiting a response.
We forwarded Ruth's email to the Chancellor and we got a government response. A spokesperson told us they recognise the, quote, pressures people are facing with the cost of living, and they're spending £21 billion this year and next to help. Mo's already doing so much to cut costs, some advice will be old news. But for others, every food tip counts. Rob Smith, ITV News, Partington.
Well, next tonight to an athlete who was one of the stars of last year's Olympic Games. Atherton's Keely Hodgkinson made the headlines after winning a silver medal in the 800-metre final. This weekend, she's hoping to go a step higher on the podium as she competes at the World Indoor Championships in Serbia. Mike Hall caught up with her before she flew out.
She's the new face of British athletics, but Keely Hodgkinson hasn't even got started yet.
2, 1, go.
This time last year, she was a relative unknown, saving up for her plane fare to the Tokyo Olympics as an unfunded athlete. This weekend, she steps onto the track, tipped to win gold.
What has life been like for you since the Olympics?
It has definitely been a little bit different. I think I've been adjusting to life as a now professional athlete properly, taking my gap year off uni and stuff like that. But it's been really fun, and I've got used to my new environment. And I'm now looking forward to now getting to the business part of the year where there's now races, there's things to look forward to. But I really enjoyed it, and hopefully I can just keep it moving.
Keely heads to the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade in blistering form. At last month's British Championships, she won the 800 metres with not just the fastest time in the world this year, but the fastest in 2 decades.
I think she'll be disappointed if she doesn't win, but there are some good girls in that race, and anything can happen on the day. But we'll make sure we go in with a good plan, and we'll be ready to be fighting for that gold.
An unflappable master tactician, Keely also possesses a sprint finish. So impressive, it's earned her a place in Britain's 400-metre relay team. They'll compete just 90 minutes after the 800 final.
Nothing seems to faze you or concern you, does it?
No, I can just go with the flow, If my coach believes me, then I can do it, it's fine.
She sounds like a dream to coach, a dream to work with. Is there anything that she can improve on?
Timekeeping. 100%. She is never on time for anything.
And yet, keeps smashing the times on the track.
It's uncanny, isn't it?
When Keely stormed to Olympic silver last summer, it was bittersweet for her parents. Unable to travel due to COVID restrictions, they watched back home at Lee Harrier's Athletics Club. This weekend, for the first time in 3 years, they'll be trackside.
We're so excited, absolutely thrilled to bits. We can't wait to get there and just to see her with a crowd, and we're going to be there part of it this time, and to share the moment. And she's in great shape, hopefully she'll do well, and we might come back with some medal work, hopefully.
I probably won't talk to them whilst I'm there, I'm not going to lie. I'll probably just see them on the start line and the finish line, because I just like to, they know me, they just like to stay focused on the day. But I think just having their support, really, they've literally watched me through this whole journey since I was 9. So now this is hopefully the good part.
Keely turned 20 just 2 weeks ago. If this is the start of the good part, we could be in for a golden decade. Mike Hall, ITV News.
You know, that is so impressive, running the relay just after you've run in the 800-metre final. But it's a bit like you tonight, Anne. Just after this, you'll be doing the late bulletin tonight.
It's absolutely nothing like me. We
It's
both
not,
know
is it?
that. Let's hope that she comes back on time with some metal work, as her dad says.
Let's hope so.
Thanks, Chris. Finally, when he died last year, his home city couldn't say goodbye properly because of the pandemic.
So today, Liverpool put that right by bidding a very fond farewell to one of its most loved sons, Jerry Marsden.
Yes, Jerry's pals and peers, as well as many others, packed the Anglican Cathedral for a special service of music and memories about the man whose voice turned one song in particular into an anthem.
Our Merseyside correspondent, Andy Bonner, was there.
The sun shone for Jerry Marsden today as family, friends and fans arrived in their droves to pay respects to a legend of this city.
Don't let the sun catch you crying.
Whenever you think of Liverpool, you think of Jerry because of the Mersey and because of the football club, and he was so passionate about this city.
Liverpool loved Jerry and Jerry loved Liverpool. Brian Epstein took us for a meal. There's a guy playing piano. Jerry and Lennon are going up and down as the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That is Jerry Marsden.
3 #1 records, straight in, bigger than the Beatles, make no mistake, and never thought we'd be friends.
What would he have made of this today?
He'd be very flattered, he'd be very thrilled, and he'd probably say, what's this all about?
Jerry was an ambassador for Liverpool wherever in the world he was performing. This couple travelled across the globe to be here.
We wanted to pay respects to his family.
He was very friendly and he was definitely a larrikin, which I think Australians like, larrikins.
He's got a very distinctive voice, very loyal to Liverpool, and he's just like normal
his music.
Yes.
Hillsborough families were here too, Jerry having raised funds and performed on the anniversary of the disaster.
He came along, even though he was out there on tour, and sang at the end of the service. That was so special, not just for me, but for all the families.
Ricky Tomlinson said Jerry had the biggest choir in the world on the Kop. Paul McCartney said he was a great showman.
He became a really good friend.
And Gary Barlow said singing with Jerry was a moment he'll remember forever. Tributes came from abroad too.
I'm living on memories of my friend Jerry Marsden.
I was 6, I was listening to the radio. Ferry across the Mersey that comes on this radio station. Now, I literally was frozen in place. My hair stood on end. So when years later I was able to do a concert live in Liverpool and I find out that Jerry Marsden's in the audience, I freaked out.
I can only add my wishes and my thoughts to what everybody else is thinking now. So sad that we lose people far too soon, and we will miss him greatly.
Mayor Steve Rotherham broke down as he revealed some of Jerry's ashes have been scattered on the Mersey. He said he was right when Jerry said, "Here I'll stay." Andy Bonner, ITV News, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, fitting tributes, fitting send-off. Joe's got the weather.
Now that is brew weather.
And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the weekend. What a fantastic way to end the working week. Lots of much needed sunshine for us here in the northwest today. And the next few days will follow a very similar pattern. Settled thanks to high pressure. Plenty of sunshine to look forward to. That continues into next week. A touch of frost to come over the next few nights, but temperatures will be rising as we go through into Monday and Tuesday. It's felt very pleasant today. There's some nice mild air around. Perhaps a little bit of a dip in terms of temperatures for Sunday, pulling in something slightly chillier across the north of England. But for northwest England, the Isle of Man, the next few days will offer up some really nice sunny spells, particularly inland. In the meantime, this evening and overnight, largely clear skies and a bit of a breeze perhaps, but that will fall away, and in turn we'll begin to see 1 or 2 mist or fog patches filling in perhaps before dawn. Temperature-wise tonight, not as low as last night. It got down to around -2 in a few spots, probably down to 2 or 3, but maybe low enough for a touch of grass frost before tomorrow morning in those rural areas. On to tomorrow, the sun will be up at 6:17. It sets at 6:22. It could be a little bit frosty where you are to start the day if you're out of a town and city, but elsewhere a quiet start to the day. Any mist or fog will lift by around 9:30, and then it's cracking really. Dry, blue skies, wall-to-wall sunshine, a bit of a breeze getting out later in the day, but feeling really pleasant. Around this time of year we'd expect 10 or 11 degrees, so 14 or 15 will feel very nice indeed. A little cooler perhaps on Sunday, but look at the medallions.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
2 sugars, please. Oh, lovely.
Thanks, Joe. Some golden skies to look forward to this weekend then. Cue for a bit more of a certain song, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.